We live, baby. OpinionHated podcast, episode, I don't know what episode this is, man. We ain't hit 10 yet. Once we get to a round number, I'll start counting. Man, it's your boy Grunge Gallardo, man. I'm in the building today with a legendary person in the world of music, and as far as this sound quality and engineering goes, man. I met this guy. It was probably 2007, and we go down Virginia Beach, oceanfront, and they take me to this bank. It was a desolate bank. It was empty, like it wasn't a bank anymore, but it used to be a bank. And I go in the building, and I'm like, yo, there's a vault. There's a vault in this building, and it's dark, and the wall is lined with plaques, and get in the studio, and it's a 15-foot mixing board in there, and I'm like, yo, I done made it. I done made it. I'm in the big leagues now, baby, man. Listen, man. I'm in the building with a guy, man, that's done so much. I don't even want to put everything in the intro. We just gonna get to sit down and talk about it. Paul Arnold's in the building with me, baby, and it is a pleasure to have you.
What's up, guys, man?
What's going on, man? How you doing today, man?
Everything's good, man. Everything is everything.
Listen, man. That moment for me walking into your studio in the beginning,
right?
It was so surreal, man. Like it was one of those moments. Like I said, it was one of those moments when I felt like, okay, now I'm playing with house money now. You know what I'm saying? Like it's official now. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Going home afterwards and hearing how my voice sounded coming out of your studio was like, this is what it's supposed to have been all the time. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it was one of those moments. Like, was that your beginning in Virginia?
Yeah, that was. Actually, that studio was a partnership. There was a young lady named Kim Mead, who that was all her vision.
Right.
So it was really her studio. I was just,
Right. What was the name of that?
It was Red Diamond.
Red Diamond. Yeah. Oh, man.
Right down there on the ocean front. So she had a dream, man, and, she wanted to get in the music industry. And at that time, Virginia was really kind of popping right then.
Right, yeah,
You had Teddy doing his thing. Yeah. Tim was doing his thing. Neptunes, they was over there working with Rob Ulsh. And,
right.
And, so there was a lot going on here. So she had this dream of, she wanted to get involved and wanted to put a studio together.
Right.
And some people knew some people who knew me. So they kind of brought me in as a consultant.
Okay.
I was living out in California, doing my thing out there, but I wound up here.
Oh man.
Yeah.
How long you been doing music? Well, before we say that, specifically, you're an engineer specifically.
Yes,
like
sir.
That's by trade, by craft, by design.
That's what I do.
So how did you get into it?
Back in the 70s.
Gosh,
I was trying to be a drummer. I was trying to learn how to play the drums. Yeah, and so.
Did you ever learn?
Yeah, I was all right.
Okay.
I was all right.
Okay.
I could keep a little groove. Keep a little pocket.
Okay.
So I went to a music school in Boston called Berklee College of Music.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, a couple cats came out of there over the years.
Just, something.
So I got there and linked up with a couple guys that was in the dorm, and we formed a little band. We started playing around in the clubs in Boston, and there's about 8 million stories right there. But turned out this little clique we had, this little band we had, we were a little rhythm section. Now this was back before guys made beats. If you wanted to make a beat, you had to get a drummer,
right,
a bass player, a guitar player, a keyboard player, and go in the studio and count it off. And
which is why Rapper's Delight was a live record.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So there's a little studio right up the street from the school, literally like 2 blocks away, and they had a real good special on recording time. You go in there in the middle of the night for like $15 an hour. So we'd get all 5 of us together and put our money together. We'd go up there and cut records, man.
Oh, man.
And there was at the school, there was a whole lot of drummers that were better than I was.
Right.
And they also had kind of like a recording arts program. So between all that, watching the engineer who worked over at this little studio and the recording arts program they had at Berklee, I kind of felt an interest, pulling in that direction. So I started taking those courses, and then over here at the little studio, when we go in the middle of the night, I said, yo, if you guys don't mind, I want to go ahead and like, do the engineering. So studio owner, he was cool with that because he didn't want to be in there in the middle of the night anyway. The guys were okay with it because they felt, like I could probably do it. They trusted me in that regard. So, I just started doing our little sessions up there. Well, the guy that on the spot, his name was Ken Canavas. He stick his head in the door before he left or whatever, check it out, And then one day he said to me, hey, man, I could really use some help around here. If you don't mind, doing the late night shift or whatever, man.
Right.
I can plug you in, let you do some sessions.
And this is still in Boston?
This is in Boston.
Okay.
And I was like, well, yeah, I'd be into it. And so I never forget this, man. This guy, Ken, he had so much faith in me. I would know you. I'd never be anywhere if it weren't for this moment, man. This guy said to me, he said, I can only pay you like $7 an hour. And at the time, I was working at a music store, at a record store, called Strawberries, big record chain in Boston. I was making $2.75.
Yeah, I'm like, yours people still making $7 an hour.
This is what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm making $2.75, putting cassettes back in the thing after people mess up the little display or whatever.
Right.
This guy's like, well, I can only pay $7 an hour. I was like, we could start there.
Gosh almighty. Like
we could start there. So he started plugging me into stuff, and money was coming in. It was a real popular studio, and he worked real hard to like drive the business and everything. And then he just fed me as much work as I could do. And to be honest with you, man, I was still green in terms of being an engineer, but I was so hungry and I was so thirsty for the knowledge and everything. So
this is real to real time. This is
real to real time.
this is old school.
I was telling him about last night. We had changing tapes and cutting tapes to make edits and stuff like that. So it was just a incredible opportunity for me because number one, this guy had enough faith in me to just put me in there, threw me in there, and I guess I had a certain aptitude for it or whatever, and I knew like anytime I wasn't there in the studio, I was studying, learning, asking questions to other people and everything because I didn't want to embarrass myself, embarrass him.
So Boston had a big music scene back then?
Man, let me tell you about Boston back then. Number one, you had the Berkeley influence.
Okay,
so you had that. So back then, Berkeley was still like a little bit of a jazz school.
Right. Okay.
But there was us funksters. Cats was playing funk and dance music and playing in the clubs and stuff like that. It wasn't all about the DJs back then. You could still go to a club and hear a live band and dance. So you had that little segment and everything. But then, man, there were so many other things happening that when I'm there in '78, that's right in kind of like the punk thing.
Okay.
There's a little club right around the way called the Rat, which is where like a lot of the punk bands kind of rose up and got started. Then that kind of transitioned over into what they called New Wave. So you had groups like the Cars and the Ramones were really kind of more punk or whatever. But like it was kind of a hotbed of music, man, for like a lot of different cultures. There's a big Caribbean influence there, so there's a lot of reggae bands and everything.
Okay.
I remember one time I was introduced to a style of music that I had never really heard of before. It was called compa. Or compas.
I still ain't never heard of compas.
Yeah, but it was Haitian music, man. East Cats was bad because they had like all these different influences from the different cultures that make up the islands.
Right.
So man, there's like had real heavy bottom, but it also had like this real fancy guitar playing going on and big horn charts and big chorus of vocals and everything. So all this, man, it's just getting thrown my way the whole time. Then Boston being so close proximity wise to New York. When hip hop started kind of being developed and
because all this is pre-hip hop. Wow.
Yeah, this is like right on the edge.
Cusp.
Yeah, on the cusp of it. And so like the cats in Boston is kind of like trying to be like cats down in New York.
Okay.
But Boston still had kind of its own little feel to the way they approached hip hop or whatever. And I got to give credit to one guy who was probably the biggest influence outside the guys at Berkeley. There was a guy there named Maurice Starr.
I think I'm familiar with him.
Yeah, so Maurice and his brothers, they had a little movement, they had a thing going on, and Maurice had a lot of experience in the studio.
Right.
He also had a lot of experience performing and whatever. So our little band, we used to play down this little Sunday matinee at this little club called the Highland Tap Room.
Okay.
And that's a whole nother story right there too. But anyway, Maurice and his brothers would come down there and haze us.
Oh man.
Because we were like the Berkeley, the
right.
educated,
Right.
musicians or whatever. He was like, man, I can come down there and play circles around all you guys.
Right.
So there was that kind of thing going on. And then there was another club up the street called Roscoe's, and Roscoe was kind of a important guy in the Boston music scene because he helped fund like some of the projects that Maurice was doing, whatever, in his nightclub. He'd bring through entertainers or whatever.
Okay.
We'd be the little backup band. So Roscoe was real important in that scene too. But anyway, even though Maurice would come down there and haze us, I think he still respected us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There was another young kid under his tutelage, a guy named Dwayne Omar. And Dwayne played, he was like 16, 17 years old, but he played like every instrument. He'd jump on the drums, was nasty with it. Jump on the bass, was nasty with it. He could play flute, all this kind of stuff. So, these guys were cutting records. There's another guy named Prince Charles. He had Prince Charles and the City Beat Band, and his manager was a guy named Tony Rose. He had a little label called Solid Platinum Records. Turns out Prince Charles went on to engineer a lot of the Bad Boy, classic records.
Oh, okay.
So we're all kind of bubbling and
right.
commingling and doing our thing in Boston and whatever. And there was just this hip hop scene that kind of grew out of that. Yeah, it was an interesting time, man.
So okay, so you're running around in Boston, and hip hop is starting to emerge. Had you started doing anything engineering on any major projects at this time?
If you mean major project, my first major label project was on RCA Records. That was 1985. That was the first time I got a check, for doing something for a major label.
What did that feel like?
It was awesome, man. But I was fortunate because a lot of times, my steps were just kind of ordered.
Right.
And either being in the right place at the right time, but then being prepared.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can be in the right place at the right time and not be prepared to do what you've been put in a position to
definitely,
do.
Definitely.
And my whole thing, I just wanted to always be prepared.
Right.
I came from a standpoint. I figured like knowledge, learning, was going to get me through because I went up. I went a hustler.
So you were always studying your craft.
Always studying my craft. So yeah, I mean, I was blessed to work with a lot of people that were talented enough to do things on that level. So the first major label project I did was one of the acts that our band used to back up. There was a woman in Boston who was kind of a local regional legend named Margot Thunder.
Okay.
She had a record deal when she was like 11 years old on Capitol Records, a record she did called Soul of a Woman. But she was well known, well respected in the area. She had a little band together called Margot Thunder and Intrigue, and we were a group, and we were their backup band.
Right.
So again, in Boston, everybody knows everybody. So we were in tight with the one black radio station, WILD-AM.
Gosh almighty.
And, anytime there was a concert in town, now they're bringing, the artists through the radio station to sit there and do an interview. So one night, it was the Whispers were coming to town, and their opening act was a guy named Richard Dimples Fields.
Richard Fields.
He had a big record back in the day called "She's Got Papers on Me."
Gosh almighty.
All
She's got papers on me.
Yeah. So,
they need to make a song like that today.
Right. Exactly. They need to bring that one back. They had another one called If It Ain't One Thing, It's Another. People had different opinions about the material or whatever, but they were hits. They were big hits. So he came through town, and he was down at the radio station talking. He was like, man, I'm trying to find some new backup singers. Cat at the radio station said, well,
he didn't call you, did he?
He said, you need to check out these girls, man, Margot Thunder and them.
Right.
Matter of fact, they're right up the street.
Right.
We were there rehearsing down in Margot's basement, and down the stairs here walks Dimples.
Okay.
So he checks them out, and next thing I know, they're gone. They're out on tour with him. So he was able to take them out to L.A. and was trying to record them out there, and, things go up and down, up and down. Eventually, they got fed up and just left and came back home. But he still had a contract on him, and he said, we got to finish this record. And Margot's like, we can finish the record, but I ain't coming out to L.A. You got to come here.
Right.
So he said, where's this a studio? She said, my drummer, Paul.
Okay.
He works at this spot down the street. So we started working on that. And we did, the record was almost done. And working with Dimples, he had a deal himself on RCA. So he started having me work on a couple of his songs too. And he told me to put up this track one day, and it was funky. I mean, it was really banging, man.
Right.
I mean, it's different from what we would appreciate now. But
Right.
back then it was hot.
I mean, different from, but as a different. When you say different, you mean it was different for the funk that was out, or you mean it's different from just
different from what we would perceive as funk right now. I'm dating myself in my vernacular, but it was hitting. The track was hot. I mean, it was hitting real hard, man. So I'm in there, I'm grooving to it and everything. Margot comes in. She's like, man, Paul, what's this? I'm like, some track, Demp wants me to put up. And she just kind of started, because I'm just playing the music. And she starts, kind of coming up with things. She comes up with this hook to it. And it's called All of Me for All of You. And so when he finally came down to the studio, she had kind of already figured out this hook and, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, Demp, man, this thing's hitting, man.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, Demp's with us in spirit right now, so I'm not saying this to throw shade on because he was a big influence.
Right.
He gave me a lot of work and everything, but a lot of the music he had already cut on them was kind of corny.
Okay.
So here's this other thing, and we just commandeered that and turned this into the Margot's record.
Okay.
And he renamed the group to 9.9. So anyway, you can do your little YouTube
Get your Google
search
on
away.
YouTube. All this music is out there,
all
baby.
All of Me for All of You 9.9. So,
Gosh almighty.
that was on RCA, so that's how I started,
Right.
some major label work. So then I finished out their album, did his album, and
Right. How did you make it to California?
All right, the California thing, I would have to say, first of all, again, it was just kind of predestined. I always knew in my heart.
It was here before you came.
I was going to be there, man.
I was going
to be
there.
It
was for you. It was gifted,
I mean, my dream was, again, going back to being a drummer. Before samplers, before drum machines, all that kind of stuff. Again, if you need to make a record, you had to have a drummer in the booth who knew what he was doing. So there was a type of drummer called a studio drummer.
Okay.
That doesn't mean you couldn't play live or whatever.
They got that on Logic.
There you go. But there's certain things you just kind of had to know to be an effective, good studio drummer.
Right.
How to tune your heads, not to overplay. There's just certain things that these cats, knew that like guys were already, you couldn't waste money in the studio, call this guy.
Right.
There was one drummer in particular, man, that I idolized. His name was Harvey Mason Sr.
Okay.
He's got a son, Harvey Mason Jr., who's part of a production team that was real significant, like in the 90s. He's still significant.
Right.
Called the Underdogs, him and a guy named Damon Thomas.
Okay.
You could look them up, too.
Right.
But I want to be like Harvey Mason. Harvey Mason went to Berkeley. I went to Berkeley.
Okay.
Harvey Mason's played Rogers drums. I got me some Rogers drums.
Gosh almighty.
Harvey Mason played these kind of sticks. I got these kind of sticks.
Right. You get it in.
But I have Harvey's hands.
Right. Okay. So Harvey was
right. But anyway, that was in my mind, in my heart, when I first went down this music thing. What I wanted to do is I wanted to move out to California and do what he did. So I already knew I'd be in Cali. But the way I actually wound up out there, this brother Dwayne Omar, the young kid that played all the instruments and everything, he had hooked up, man, this story's going to go a whole nother direction right now. He had hooked up with the cats from New Edition. Okay. Because going back to the New Edition story, of course, they came up in Boston.
Right. When you said Maurice Starr, I was like, yeah. I was in my mind. I'm like, some of these people he's talking about was in the biopic.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when Maurice put New Edition together and first took them out on the road, remember I was saying he would haze the band, but he still respected us.
Right.
So he needed a band to go out with his new group. He said, "Come on, y'all." So we went out on the road with New Edition on their first hit.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
When they came back and the bus pulled up in the bricks and they let them off right in there, just like you saw in the movie.
That's crazy.
That's real.
That's crazy. You was on that bus.
I was on that bus.
So not only was some of the people he talked about in that biopic, you were a portion of what they were referencing.
Yeah, I think they kind of like cut me out of the.
But
I witnessed some of the things.
Yeah.
So anyway, New Edition is there in Boston. They're doing their thing or whatever, and my man Dwayne Omar, knew those guys, and they were trying to do like some little side projects. This is long after they split with Maurice. They're out in California doing their thing, and he knew those guys. And there was another guy out there that they befriended, who got a deal with Capitol Records, and so the guy's looking for some music. They told him about Dwayne. Dwayne put some music together for him or whatever, and we started working on it. So they brought the guy in from Cali to Boston. and we worked on the first album there, mixed it out in California. So, I'm starting to do this, starting to go back and forth a little bit from Boston to Cali. And the name of the artist was Suave. And what we did...
Suave.
Yeah.
Suave.
We did, it was, again, it was, you remember there was a group called Club Nouveau, and they did a remake of Lean On Me. They kind of put a little go-go, little thing on it or whatever. Well, we researched that record, thought that was an interesting concept, so we did the same thing with My Girl, the old Temptations joint.
Okay.
So we put a little track together and did that. And cut this record. Well, it was a hit.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if it was number one hit, but it was, it was up there on the charts or whatever. So that was for Capitol Records. Now I got another,
Now you got another check
under my belt.
Gosh almighty.
So it just, kind of starts to snowball. Now I'm out there, talking to those guys, and you're in the studio, whatever. Now, my man over here is doing a project. Hey, I like the way it sounds, whatever. Can I get you to come in and work on my stuff?
Right.
Just kind of happened like that. So when it came time for me to do the next album for this guy, Suave, it was a question of, okay, we're going to do it in Boston or California. So they said, well, we just want you to come out to California for a couple of months and work on this record. I was like, hey, man, I'll just move. Don't even worry about it.
Gosh almighty, you was out. You packed it up.
I went out there, man. I had to do it.
Let me ask you this. It was a conscious decision you picked California over New York? Was there a reason?
Yeah, I just, you been to California?
Enough said.
I mean, California.
Enough said.
You out there,
Enough said.
In January.
Yeah.
And you got,
and you've been in Boston the last few years.
And,
like, listen, it's time to get away from the
shorts and everything, man. But it was just the environment out there was just so cool.
Let me ask you this, because I didn't know you was on the road with New Edition, right?
Okay.
So that's like it, and there's a lot I don't know. What was that really like? cause we're talking. This is early. Like, this is early New Edition. So like, this is
This is Candy Girl.
This is So this is kind of pre-ego.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they not. It's not they're not as off the charts as they ended up becoming as far as like character. You know what I'm saying? Like the it may be tame. The road is tame.
Right.
It's a tame road.
I'll tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this, man. And I don't have any reason to. I don't have any reason to lie about anything.
Right.
Okay. When I first met these cats, they were babies.
Okay.
I think Bobby was the oldest. I think he was 14 at the time. The other guys were like 13 years old. Okay. So none of us knew.
Okay, because I'm gonna tell you, Paul, you are digging yourself just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, Gracious comes sitting, I'm like, man, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, but I forgot that they were so young when they came out.
Yeah.
So literally, like, wow, and you are already in college, like,
That's
or
right.
You're out of college at this time,
I'm
or
in
you're still in college.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got a few years.
I've been around a little while.
Yeah.
Been around.
Yeah.
So I've seen a few things. So,
Right.
I mean, these guys are so young and so green. Okay. None of us really knew what we were doing. You know what I'm saying? We're just kind of making this thing up as we go along. And the real thing is, nobody had any clue that it was going to turn into what it turned into.
Right.
So when we're out here on the road, we're just doing 3 songs. We open up with Popcorn Love off the album, do a little bit of Jealous Girl, go right into Candy Girl. Every now and then we do Is This the End? Okay. So we got 15 and 20 minutes. We're opening up. We're opening up for some interesting things. George Clinton and the P-Funk All-Stars, we're opening up for them. Now, you can draw your own conclusions about whatever influences there may have been, backstage or whatever.
Listen, I already know that whole
feel where I'm coming from?
Funkadelic thing was crazy.
Okay, Bar-Kays, who are some of the other groups? Cool and the Gang, I think we were out with them for a minute. Midnight Star, they was real hot with Freakazoid and all that stuff. Most of these people don't know these records.
Right.
You can look them up.
They're going to look them up, though. They're going to look them up.
They probably sampled them.
They definitely sampled them. They definitely sampled half of them. Probably all of them.
Lakeside.
Gosh almighty.
So we're out with them, man. The thing about it was these are big R&B groups at the time.
Right.
And here we are with these little kids doing 15 minutes, and we killed them. We killed them everywhere we went. Nobody
crowd
could follow
going
us.
crazy.
With the one exception, man. They took us to a go-go hit up in Salisbury, Maryland with Trouble Funk, Rare Essence,
Oh, y'all done.
and EU.
Ain't no kidding.
And people, they were like...
Nah. It's again.
And I'd never heard go-go before.
Right.
You know, so I was like, that was a whole...
Right.
Love
Yeah,
it. But
yeah.
they weren't feeling us all. But everywhere else we went,
Yeah.
nobody could follow us, man. Nobody.
I mean, New Edition was special.
Yeah.
It was special.
But
And they were kids.
They were just babies. So there
Yeah.
was all these little 13, 14-year-old girls.
Coming to the show. Oh,
Yeah.
because they knew that. So they knew
They knew
you
the
all were
music.
going to be So you got P-Funk, who has a crowd that they're expecting, but then they're getting there and there's children at they show.
Right.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. But
That's
I mean, it was
crazy.
you just can't understand what a phenomenon they were, even at that very the initiation of their career, man.
Is this the tour they came back from and got $1?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! So I mean, that wasn't exaggerated.
Well, okay, I wasn't a bookkeeper,
Right.
but I know the way these things work.
Right.
And for the movie, that's a poignant,
Right.
statement to make in the movie.
Right.
Okay?
It stands out.
Whether it was accurate, to the penny or whatever,
Right.
I don't know. Here's what you got to consider. You're going out on the road unproven. This is your first tour. Before that, you've just been doing like little nightclubs, dance clubs, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Singing the tracks. Or this is your first time going out on tour.
Right.
Okay. So we're out on Chubby Checker's bus. Chubby Checker was the guy back in the 60s did a song called Tour. Anyway, we ran his bus. Bus needs fuel. Bus needs fuel. Bus driver needs to be paid. Bus driver needs to eat. Okay? Band, we got about five members in the band.
Right.
We all have to eat.
Right.
We all have to get paid.
Right.
We all need someplace to stay.
Right.
The kids need someplace to stay. They got, their chaperones, their parents, they need someplace to stay.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how much do you think they were getting paid a night as a brand new act with one record?
Yeah.
Okay. And now you got all these expenses.
Yeah.
Like you're one of the headliners.
So
at the end of the night, there probably wasn't a whole lot of money.
and it's crazy because now that they actually sold it as though it was a lot of robbery going on. But the way you're painting it just wasn't a lot to go around at the time.
Right. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I really don't think, because I know Maurice, man.
Right.
I know Maurice. Maurice and I have done business together.
Right.
Okay. I respect Maurice musically as an absolute genius, which he is.
Right.
He's a smart and crafty businessman, because not only did he do one big super group, but he did another big super group, which we can get to the details of that later too.
Gosh almighty.
But in the music business itself is inherently full of thieves and robbers.
Right.
From the moment you sign your name to any contract, it's always going to be to the benefit of the record company.
Right.
It's like buying a car. You go down to the car dealership and you can have all your little printouts from the internet. You're never going to beat the dealer.
You're never gonna beat anybody that's selling you something. Because they're
Exactly.
trying to make their
Exactly. So that's the way record companies still run. That's definitely the way they ran back then. I really don't think that anybody was making a conscious effort. Maybe I'm just naive.
Right.
I don't think anybody was really out to get anybody. I don't think Maurice went in there with the intention like, hey, I had the opportunity to rob these kids or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think it
Because
was more,
like you said, nobody expected it to do
we had
what
no
it
idea.
did anyway. So
I had no idea. You know what I'm saying? And this thing was all just kind of pieced together.
Right.
Like I'm saying, I'm not insulting anybody. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
I'd never been out on tour before.
Right.
These kids, they had never been on tour before. Their moms and chaperones or whatever.
Right.
They didn't know what to expect, what to look for. Be honest with you, nobody did.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, people are paying, hotel bills out their pocket or,
Yeah.
whatever had to.
Yeah.
The kid, I don't know what they were getting, man. I wasn't counting anybody's money, but the whole act was probably getting a couple of G's a night.
Right.
And the expenses were probably a couple
Close
of
to
G's
that.
a night
Yeah.
plus $500.
Right.
But what people need to realize is that was an investment.
Yeah.
Because that paved the way of everything that was to come.
Right.
So
without that, there is no what we ended up having as far as like the entire legacy of New Edition and the family tree that spawned from it. So
absolutely.
definitely.
So if you want to kind of wrap up that chapter of the story,
Right.
We're on our way back one day from Monroe, Louisiana. Long bus ride coming back to Boston. And the guy was the musical director of the group, a good friend of mine named Bill Higgins.
Okay.
Bill's been writing in this notebook like the whole trip. I'm like, man, Bill, what are you writing, man? He said, man, you see how crazy this scene is out here? I'm like, yeah. He said, you know what's missing, right? I said, what's missing? He said, well, this is the equivalent of the Jackson 5 back in the day.
Right.
I said, yeah, I guess it is, because again, we got little girls, pounding
Right,
on the
right,
windows of
right,
the bus and trying
right,
to break into hotels and everything. I'm like, yeah, it is kind of like the Jacksons was. He's like, where are the Osmond brothers? Now, the Osmond brothers, Donnie Osmond and all that, they was like the other group, okay, because you had the Jackson 5.
Okay.
Then you had like the other group for the other population, for the majority of the population.
Okay. Right.
You feel what I'm saying?
Right, I'm with you.
Okay. So Bill was saying, we got the Jackson 5, where are the Osmonds? So he's been writing out a game plan
to cross this thing over.
Gosh
almighty.
So he said, there was a woman that there was a manager of like our group and a couple other little groups around in Boston, and she had a lot of flavor, and Bill said, she probably knows some kids down in Dorchester or someplace like that, probably got a little flavor, whatever. Maybe we can put this thing together and take it to Maurice and start the other group.
Right.
So that's what he was writing on in his book. So he went and gave her the idea, and the rest is history. They started out as a group called Ninook. And later on, they changed their name to New Kids on the Block.
Wow.
And the rest of that is history.
And that spawns Ted. Because if y'all didn't catch that, don't worry about it. Okay, so we're back in California.
We're in California now.
And what year is this? This is
about 88.
88. Okay, 88. So this is like the dawn of the crack epidemic.
Okay.
So by then, what was your introduction to hip hop?
I had to go back to Boston.
Okay.
I had to go back to Boston for that because, again, the influence of New York.
Right.
Let me think of some stuff I did in Boston. Number one, there's a guy down there named Raymond Scott.
Okay.
I think Raymond Scott was fresh out of high school. And he came up in the studio one time and did a record. And, again, I was fairly new. He was fairly new. It might have been his first time up in the studio.
Right.
But he kind of had like a little flow, and he brought some guys with him and a DJ, and, they put a little record together. And he later on kind of rearranged his crew, and they were called the Almighty RSO. You know about the Almighty RSO?
Come on, man.
You know about Raymond Scott?
This is the OpinionHated podcast, man. Grunge Gallardo, baby.
I know you.
Almighty RSO, Boston.
Yeah.
They were like Mattapan.
Yeah.
Like they were from like the heart of Boston.
Yeah.
Like
they were.
Gosh almighty.
Yeah. So, now cut to today, you got TV shows going on and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, man. It's crazy.
I probably did Benzino's very first record he ever did, man.
Wow. Did he have a neck? Mm-hmm. He had a neck back then?
Yeah.
Okay, so he lost it as he got older. Okay, so we got confirmation Benzino was born with the neck.
But Benzino, man, was again, you just meet people and they're destined for success.
Right. Right.
And like I said, this might have been the second time he'd ever been in the studio, man. But you could just feel.
Right.
You could just see in this cat's eyes that
he had determination.
He had determination. Yeah. He was going to do something.
Yeah.
He was going to do something.
Because he still sound like he in his first time in the studio, but
that's my opinion.
He's determined. You know what I'm saying? He's a legendary guy. You can't take anything from Benzino, man.
Exactly.
The source.
Exactly.
I grew up on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I forgot, what was it? The Made Man? Was that the name of his crew?
Yeah,
Made Man. They definitely had some music that.
But see, let me tell you, man, because he was loyal. You know what I'm saying? Like, he remembered that I was there, in the early days or whatever. So then when things started, really flowing for him or whatever, I'm out in L.A., he would fly me back to Boston.
Okay.
To work on some of the stuff he was doing, not just his projects, but like The Source had this unsigned hype thing.
Right.
So through that, because The Source has so much pull and everything. If they say, "Hey man, come down, we want you on this album," you coming down. You know, because you want.
That was
the
unsigned hype. That was the first dream of mine I didn't accomplish.
Okay.
that was
still time.
That was my first. That was my first non-accomplishment. Like but
it's still time. So Cass came through, man. You know, we just lost. We just lost so many people lately, you know, in the whole game. But that was my opportunity to work with Havoc and Prodigy. You know, because they came in and did a little thing on there. So you know, just again because this cat was loyal.
Right.
You know, he's flying me into New York from California to work on records. You tell me there ain't no engineers in New York that know anything about hip hop by that time.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
But he stayed loyal, man. You know, kept bringing me in. So yeah, I was doing his thing. There was a guy in Boston that was. There's this whole phenomenon after UTFO did Roxanne.
Okay.
So now everybody's doing a reply record to that.
Okay.
You know, so I think I did Roxanne's Doctor and Roxanne's something, or a psychiatrist or something other. But we were doing all these Roxanne reply things on this little label called Zakia Records. So you know, it was the whole scene was just kind of bubbling. It wasn't New York.
Right.
But they so strong wanted to be New York, and that influence was so big that's just kind of we got it going, man. There was a cat there named Rusty the Toe Jammer. This guy could scratch records with his feet, man.
This is crazy.
Again, don't believe it or else. Believe it or else. It's probably on YouTube. Rusty the Toe Jammer.
Gosh Almighty.
I mean, it's crazy, but you know. That's what cats were doing, man.
So you're introduced to hip hop when you're in Boston.
Yes, sir.
And you make your way to California in the 80s, where hip hop is also beginning to, because just like in Boston, hip hop is getting a late start in California. You know what I'm saying?
Let me tell you something. We used to clown West Coast rappers.
Oh, yeah?
West Coast rappers were the worst.
So give me an example, because I know this is pre a lot of the legends.
Yeah.
So this is probably when Dre was like part of the Wrecking Crew era at the time.
Dre was part of the Wrecking Crew. So like the big records, there was some record, I forget who the artist was, but there was a record I called Bataram, where they were talking about, you know, the cops, you know, came in with this Bataram,
okay.
You know, was knocking down doors and stuff
like
that. Egyptian Lover, Freakaholic, JJ Fad, Supersonic.
Yo, you know what's so crazy about that? I didn't know that was a West Coast record. I didn't know that that Eazy-E and them did that. Like, you know, I never knew that. Like, it blew my mind when I found that out. Like, and I was like, yo, that's crazy.
Right.
Like,
I got a question though. How did they let that one verse clear when she was just like, like, how they let that clear?
I don't know, man. But I don't know. That joint's crazy though, right?
No, that record was it. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's arguably one of and I hate, like, female rap records, that is one of the best records of all time.
Right.
Hip hop, period. But also specifically as far as like, it's just one of those records. Like,
yeah. Well, coming from the East Coast and kind of up there in the Northeast where we thought we knew everything there was, you know, we were like, man, these records are garbage. Man.
Yeah.
Oh, these records are hits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So don't hate the player. You might hate the score, but hey, these guys are onto something that people out here are connecting with. And I'm like, that music sounds like that Miami bass music, you know? The 808. I'm like, that ain't nothing new, man. But they were loving it out there. And man, it was just, again, you know, a lot of different elements, a lot of different ingredients come into the recipe that results in, like, you know, a phenomenon going on. So, you know, the movie Colors was just coming out. So Ice-T, you know, was hot with that record and everything.
Right.
And even though, you know, the gang problem, the crack problem, everything in L.A., you know, all that was real. But these guys are now, you know, rapping about it, talking about it, you know, on these records. And there's a radio station out there called K-Day, and they're playing all these records.
Gosh Almighty.
And, you know, it's just one of those things where it's like the perfect storm of all these elements come in, and boom, next thing you know, it's all about West Coast rap.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, West Coast rap raised me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And the stuff that we used to think, you know,
was whack.
Was just garbage, man. Now it's like, okay, well, now, you know, now we got to kind of get with this. So I think when I first went out to L.A., I was still doing mostly like this R&B stuff.
Right.
But I know Benzino came out there once or twice, and we did a couple of Made Men things, a couple of Unsigned Hype things. But I'm trying to think of like what was, because I got pigeonholed for a minute, man, where all of a sudden I was doing nothing but rap records out there.
Right.
And I kind of felt I was happy to have work, period.
Right.
I don't care what I was doing.
Right.
But I was kind of like, I know how to do other things.
Right.
And everybody's like, call Paul if you're doing a rap. Yeah, but I know how to mic a guitar amp too.
Right.
Some mics on something. I can do this.
Right.
I was doing all these rap records, but I can't remember the first one I did out there that was, that was like significant. But it'll come to me, man.
Okay.
You asked the right question.
Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll definitely get to it. So so you're out there and you're working in California.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was gonna ask. Well, I'm gonna rearrange that question because we'll figure it out. There's a group from California, legendary group. A lot of people love them. Like they have a legendary producer that passed. Well, I don't know if he produced all of their records, but I know he produced a few of the major records. Group named Farside.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Farside, man. There were a lot of records I loved. They had Drop. I love that record. Lab Cabin in California was a great project for them. They had Can't Keep Running Away. It was which one? I'm missing one. I'm missing a record
on that album.
Pass Me By?
Pass Me By was on the first album.
Pass Me By was on the first album. Okay, that's the one. That's the record I'm missing.
Yeah.
So they've had a lot of records and a lot of hits. How did you come to be dealing and working with the Farside?
With them? All right. That's going to require a leapfrog over a whole bunch of other stuff.
Okay.
We can do that and work backwards or whatever way you want to do it.
Listen, we're gonna run them around. We're gonna run them around. They're gonna take some laps.
All right. Let's talk about networking.
Okay.
And let's talk about networking in the industry. Okay?
Okay.
Everybody in California, in the industry, I'm talking about guys that have ink in their pen and they can sign checks.
Right.
They play golf.
Okay.
As they do in their spare time. So guess what I do?
You play golf?
I play golf.
Gosh almighty.
That's my passion outside of this music is playing golf.
Is your profile pic a golf on the golf course?
It might be right now, yeah.
Because I know I've been conversating with somebody that's swinging the club when they thing, and I'm just trying to remember whether it was okay.
That's
all
me.
right, yeah.
So I done a record for.
I golf too, Top Golf.
There you go, man.
Virginia,
Everybody, it's fun. It's fun.
No,
right?
I'm past putt. I'm top golfing.
Top
you know
golf is
what I mean?
right, man.
I'm trying to get to the back fence. Once I get to the back fence, I'll step out on the yard.
Yeah. So I went to a golf. I was invited to a golf tournament.
Okay.
And the golf tournament was held by a man named Tom Wally. He did it every spring, and it was like the place to be. Everybody was trying to get into Tom Wally's golf tournament. Mm-hmm. Again, we can go back to how I wound up in that golf tournament. But I'm out there. It was out in Palm Springs, a couple of days out there. Everything's first class.
Right.
Everything is just like, on point or whatever. But I'm the new kid. And not only am I the new kid, there's something else a little different about me. Nobody knows me, and I look a little bit different.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I mean, they're playing golf, and this is in the 80s. I'm sure you look different from everybody.
But everything's cool.
Right.
Everything's cool. Nobody, there's no hatred or anything like that. But nobody knows who I am, and what am I doing there? Well, I was invited, and I could play a little bit, so I belonged. Okay?
But it actually works out to your benefit when everybody's trying to figure out who that is and why he's there, and he doesn't look like it because he has to be somebody.
Right.
So yeah, I need to be in one of those predicaments.
So I'm trying to figure out who everybody else is.
Right. Because you know the same thing that they like.
Right. I'm trying
somebody.
So,
everybody's somebody.
So when you play around the golf, they send you out in a group of 4 guys. It's me and like 3 other guys.
Okay.
So we're getting into it, doing my thing. I'm a little nervous. So a couple shots going bad, just like Tiger Woods. He had some bad shots, but I had some good shots too.
Right.
So like after a couple holes, they're just kind of feeling you out to see if you're going to be an asset or a liability to the team or whatever. And now it's like I can hold my own. So now there's a little chatter going on or whatever. We get another.
So you've been playing golf a long time. Like this isn't new. Like
okay,
yeah.
Something I like to do anyway. So finally we're about an hour or so in. I'm like, so, who are you? What do you guys do? I forget how I said it, but it was kind of funny the way it came out. Like, who are you guys?
Right.
And, they're looking at me. You don't know who I am?
Right.
Okay, so one of them was Gary Gersh, who at the time I think was president of Capitol Records.
Okay.
One of them was Lon Friend, who I think at that time was like senior vice president A&R for Arista.
Okay.
One was Mike Ross, who owned Delicious Vinyl. Tone Low, Young MC.
Yeah.
And me.
Gosh almighty. Gosh. What are you saying, you?
Next day I went out, I'm with, I think, David Berman, who was like the guy who kept all the money together for Interscope Records.
Right.
Massimo. Okay, so if you only have one name, right? Massimo, like if you go down here to Target,
right,
and go through their little clothes or whatever.
Oh,
Massimo.
Gosh almighty.
I think Tom Werman was there, who was like the manager for a rapper named Ahmad.
Ahmad, I had his album.
Yeah.
I had his album. Oh, man,
and
it
me.
was a dope album.
And me. So they trying to figure out, like, who are you? And what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, man, Tom invited me. You know, I did this Tupac album for him.
Right.
They're like, you did that Tupac? What'd you do? I was like, well, you know, I mixed most of it, you know, mastered it.
Right.
They're like, really? I'm like, yeah. Because, like, Pac was just...
This is the second album?
This was... I think this is the Me Against the World album.
That's my favorite Pac album of all time.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were going to jump right there.
That's what I'm saying. We had
right. Okay.
So I'll finish out the Fireside thing, and
right,
then we can go back. So Mike Ross, who I met on day one, Fireside was signed to his label, Delicious. Okay. So we get to the end of the weekend, and they had this like little banquet or whatever, you know, presenting awards, closest to the hole, longest drive.
Right.
They given us some little cameras, so we were taking pictures of us, and they put together a little video montage, you know, and everything. So we're all in there smoking cigars, you know, drinking top shelf liquor, you know, eating up and everything. And Mike and I, you know, we kind of been cool the whole time. He's just a little different from the other guys.
Right.
So we're sitting there just chopping it up, and he said, so you mixed that? Yes, I mixed it, man.
Right.
You know, I know I look like, you know,
yeah, right.
I speak, but yes, I mixed the record. I mixed it. Yes.
Right.
Yes. He's like, okay. Because, you know, I got this group, The Fireside, and they got an album they've been working on for a long time. They're having trouble finding somebody, you know, who can
get the sound right,
put together.
Cohesive.
He said, you know, you want to come in and take a shot at it? I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
had you heard of The Fireside?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Pass Me By was a huge record.
Right.
So I you know, I knew about him and everything. So they set me up in the studio where they've been working. One of my favorite studios in LA at the time was a place called Air LA. A guy out there named Craig Burbage, who was like the guy who when I first went out to LA, he was like one of the senior engineers out there, and he kind of pulled me aside and said, you know, young man, let me show you the ropes. You know, do this, don't do that, or whatever. So I got a shout out Craig.
Okay.
So anyway, that was his spot. So he set me up out there, and I came in early in the day and started working on this record. And one of the cats from the group was there, but he was just kind of sitting over in the corner quiet the whole time, man. And I worked on the joint the whole day, put it together. I thought I had it sounded good. And then later on that night, the rest of the guys, you know, from the group came in.
Right.
So the cat who was over in the corner all day hanging with me, that was Fat Lip.
Okay.
So he's just over there.
Okay, you don't even know this at the time.
Not really.
Right.
Because I'm just jumping from record to record.
Right.
You know?
Right. Just getting a feel for what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. But I put together, you know, a mix, and I thought it sounded good and everything.
Right.
So the rest of the group came in, you know, later at night, 11, 12 o'clock, to hear it. And, you know, they sit down. And of course, this is, you know, a studio like the old joint.
Right.
Big SSL console, you know, huge monitors up in the thing. And press play. You know, I'm sitting back. I don't know how they're going to take it because I had really kind of flipped, you know, some of the stuff that was going on.
Right.
So, you know, the record plays through, gets to the end, and I turn and look over at Booty Brown.
Okay.
And he's just sitting there kind of like this, looking up, you know, from where the sound was coming to the speakers, and he just said, wow. And I'm like, I think that's a good wow. I think he likes it.
Right.
All right, so
this is the first day.
This is the first day I worked with him. First day I worked with them. So since it was a good wow, of course they had some, you know, some feedback or whatever.
Right.
All in all, they were like, man, this, you know, this is
you know
incredible.
what he's doing. Yeah.
So
what record was that?
This is a little record called "Running."
Gosh almighty.
Yeah. And
Can't keep running away.
Everybody needs to know. Everybody needs to know. I don't get caught up in this a whole lot.
Right.
But you need to know. Everybody should experience what it feels like 15 years later to like turn on the NBA
And
they're going into a commercial, and in the background you hear some music that you did. That's a good feeling.
It has to be.
Everybody should have that feeling.
And be clear, it's not 15 years later. This is a
longer.
legendary record. You're gonna hear this record forever. Like,
Right.
Did Dilla did that record?
Dilla did that record.
Was he around during that?
So what we did is, remember, because I said I had taken what they had done,
Right.
But it sounded a lot different than what they were accustomed to. And
Okay.
this still happens. Like if you were to bring me a record of yours to mix right now,
Right.
you're used to hearing it a certain way.
Right.
Okay. If you like the way you got it, then put it out.
Right.
Okay. But you bring it to me.
This is what you're. That's
Obviously,
what you're
you
for.
want a different perspective.
Right.
Now, not everybody likes what I do.
Right.
Some people love what I do. Some people
Right.
think my is whack. That's okay. That's
Right.
the nature.
the
Not
business.
everybody's meant for it.
Everybody's different.
So I don't trip out when somebody doesn't like something I didn't do. But I always hope they're gonna like it because
Right.
obviously. So these guys like what I did, and Dilla heard it and he liked it, but he was like, okay, I need to come back in and sit with you, and we're gonna
Right.
couple things we just
Right.
So now it's me and him.
Gosh,
Right there. We're doing our thing, putting the thing together, and that was it. So yeah, so we did that one, and then we did. I did maybe about six or seven cuts on there. I did drop
Is this Lab Captain?
Lab Captain.
Gosh almighty, Paul, man.
Yes, sir.
And this ain't even the big one.
Yes.
This ain't even part of the. This is crazy.
It's pretty big, man. But let me say something about Imani and Booty Brown, man.
Okay.
The remnants of the Far Side.
Because Fat Lip is the one. Fat Lip is the like. I'm those the other two. I'm like, oh, which one's the light skin one?
That's Trey.
Okay, so you're not talking about him neither.
No, I can tell you everything about all of them. Fat Lip was cool,
Right.
and Fat Lip just had that flow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, Fat Lip was dope.
Fat Lip was kind of
dope.
the guy that like a lot of cats would just kind of like relate to.
Far Side was my tribe.
Okay.
Like,
Right.
I like Far Side. Like,
Right.
I was like, you know what I'm saying? But go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had to get that out there for the tribe
Yeah.
fans. You know what I'm saying?
He was cool, man.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would, again, you see people on videos, you see people on interviews, you see people at shows or whatever, and you think you know them. You don't know 'em.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
They tell you never meet your idols.
So a lot of people would think, like maybe Lip was a certain way. That cat was brilliant.
Oh, yeah?
He's brilliant, man. He's quiet in the back or whatever, but dude has some stuff going on. Still does.
Right.
Trey, the light skinned one. He
I
liked
just remember him because he was on the reality TV.
Right. So he like a lot of the hooks where they were singing and stuff like that. I think that was kind of like his influence. In
Right.
there. But he could spit too.
Yeah.
You have to listen carefully, but he had some clever stuff.
Right.
And then you had Booty Brown, who had like the real high pitched voice.
Okay. All right. So that's Booty Brown.
Yeah.
All right.
And then Imani was just, Imani's just like on some other kind of, he's just vibrating in a different place. That
Right.
I hope one day maybe I can get there.
Right.
I don't know, man, because that cat, he just vibrates on different frequency from everybody else. But they're just, great people, man.
Yeah.
And they were all about their music, 100% committed.
Well, they're from California.
Yeah.
And outside, if you're not part of like gang culture in California, you're pretty much gonna be a laid back, just chill type of, unless you're like, snooty. You know what I'm saying? But so yeah, I'm with you.
So these cats are still grinding. I mean, Trey went off and he's doing kind of his thing as a DJ, and also I think he gets together occasionally with Fat Lip and one of the producers, Jay Swift, and they've got kind of like a Fireside Experience kind of thing.
Right.
But they tour, they go overseas and do real well with that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Booty Brown and Imani, they got the Fireside, the rights to the name.
Right.
They're still putting out records, and they are killing it, man. They're selling out all over the world to this day.
Gosh, Fat Lip isn't part of the core that has the rights to the name.
No.
Gosh Almighty.
No. Because I think now I'm not a historian.
Right.
I'm not a historian, but I think Lip departed the group, and there was just three of them for a minute.
Okay.
And then Trey decided he was going to go off and do his solo thing.
Yeah.
And Fat Lip had a project, man, on his own that was pretty cool. If you ask me.
Yeah.
Again, you can YouTube it or whatever.
That kind of happens sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like you diva out. I ain't gonna say you diva it out, but when you know what I'm saying, and then the real legacy is part of the conglomerate, and you know what I'm saying? But yeah.
But again, loyalty, man. Those cats, the Fireside cats, to this day, when nobody was checking for me,
They always.
when nobody.
If they need something done.
If they need something done, they would find out where I was and like, hey.
Man, listen, running was like that was like. I remember when we talked about that, and I remember just sitting there in amazement, like, this is crazy. Like, I mean, you could turn running on now. Mm-hmm. Like, I was going through, I had a conversation the other day. I was talking to somebody about Dr. Dre and the Chronic in 2001, and I was playing it, and I was like, yo, the way his music comes through the speakers 20 years later, it's crazy. Like, I'm like, yo, now it could have been remastered, who knows? But the way it comes through the speakers now, still 20 years later, is phenomenal. And Running is one of those records, you know what I'm saying? That it still comes through, and you still get that exact same feeling, like the harmony, the melodies, the way you put your foot in that one, man.
Well, you have to consider the source. When you got a guy like Dilla,
Dilla's
putting the track together,
and
you building up on that, then you got some creative minds like the Fireside,
and
you know the way that that was unusual. The way that wasn't your average, rap record at the time. Again, considering West Coast hip hop sounded like just a couple years before that. You know, Batarang, NWA, all that kind of stuff, and now you got a record like this coming out of there. It was different. So
I'm gonna need you to pop your collar on this question right here.
Okay.
The record you heard when you walked in there, would it have done what it did as is?
I would say it depends.
Okay.
It depends.
Being modest right now.
It really depends.
He has to be being modest because
Nah. I mean, the elements were there.
Right.
It wasn't like I came in and
the music was there.
Right.
But we know a lot of times how we hear the music affects what the music actually does.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't know why they like certain stuff.
Right.
They just it just hears it. It feels good. It works.
Right.
So that's why I say that, because I've heard records before like and then you hear it again. It's like, damn, it's the same record, but it's not.
Right.
So. And that's what I'm gathering. I mean, he gave you a wow. You know what I'm saying?
He gave me a wow.
Like, he didn't just say, okay, cool, on to the... Because he had to have recognized that there was something...
There was something different
about that record.
Yeah.
Like,
but I can't do that every time. It's just...
I mean, sometimes... It's
certain times...
It's
man,
magic. Like, you were working with magic. Dilla is magic. Like, a lot of people feel like from a technical aspect, what Dilla does, the records is phenomenal. Like, producers love him because it's hard to get records to do what he gets them to do when he's producing those records.
Right.
I never knew Dilla was as big as he was. Most of the music I was familiar with by name were the later things that were like real vintage hip hop. After they came with the new terms of like Backpack and like all the other stuff. So like the Slum Village music, like stuff like that, to where I wasn't really a fan of. Like, I was always a fan of Pharcyde. Pharcyde had great records, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I had never heard Dilla with around great records. I just heard him with like, you know, pure hip hop, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when I found out, I knew you mixed Can't Keep Running Away before I knew Dilla produced it.
Oh, wow.
So, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, just giving you I always identified Dilla with something else.
Yeah.
But that was phenomenal. Pharcyde, phenomenal. Dilla, rest in peace. You know what I'm saying?
And if you get a chance to see Pharcyde live, go see Pharcyde live.
They got a mean set.
Because, again, they come out there with a real drummer, a keyboard player, you know, a DJ, or whatever. And it's a good show.
Yeah, I gotta. If they ever come, like, or if I'm ever in the town and when I'm there, it's up on the flyer somewhere that
you got millions of followers all over the world. I'm saying if you're in Amsterdam,
who got millions of followers all over the world?
You do.
Come on, stop playing with me.
They coming, man.
Yeah, we'll see.
Remember,
see.
It's vision, man.
Hey, I just want Tidewater to love me. Nah, but okay, so you were talking about this golf tournament, which you were there because of
Another little project I worked on.
Little project, you know what I'm saying? This guy, man, this is the official, man. Volume 1. You see that eye?
You can't.
Interscope.
You can't find those, man.
Can't find those.
Yeah.
You got to get with Grunge to get one of these, baby.
That's rare right there.
So listen, you're working with Tupac Shakur. Now, Me Against the World, that wasn't the first time you worked with him, though, correct?
Not exactly.
'Cause
the story begins again around the game of golf.
okay,
All right.
I gotta start golfing, man. I
Playing
gotta golf,
man.
man.
You gotta do what they do, man.
I gotta golf,
You gotta do
man.
what they do.
This is crazy.
You gotta do what they do, man. So I'm in A&M Studios.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a demo. There was a guy named Daryl Duncan, who was a producer and songwriter,
Okay.
that I met at that studio where I first started working in RLA Studios.
Right.
In California. So he was over there doing a project. I'm over in the adjacent studio doing a project, and we get to know each other. Whatever. He starts hiring me to do some work for him. So he was a staff writer for A&M. So that's how I wound up over at A&M Studios that day. And he's doing a demo for a song for a singer named Howard Johnson.
Okay.
Howard Johnson had a huge record back in the 80s, club record called So Fine.
Okay.
So Fine was produced by a guy named Kashif, who also recently departed. But Kashif was one of, if not the first, I'd say he and Leon Silvers from, the Solar Records camp, were the first of these guys that were like all-in-one package. Kashif could bring you in, develop you as an artist. He would write, produce, arrange, play all the instruments, himself. He was like a one-man package.
Right.
So first huge record he had was this Howard Johnson So Fine record. Then he did Evelyn King, I'm in Love, Melissa Morgan. He had some hits on his own, George Benson. Kashif was major.
Right.
But the first record he did was this record for this guy, Howard Johnson.
Okay.
All right, so now...
Is this the Howard Johnson hotel guy?
No.
Okay. Cause, you hit me with the Massimo,
right.
Massimo, and I was like, gosh almighty, almighty, that's crazy.
Nah, man, it's different camp. Not
Okay.
the tuba player either. But anyway, so Howard's in there singing this record, and I don't know how it came up, but somehow the subject of golf came up. I know there was some golf on TV, whatever, but
Right.
when golfers, we start talking this lingo with each other.
Right.
What you play? Oh yeah, I do a little something, man.
Right.
At the game, with the stick and the little ball. Yeah.
Okay.
What you know something about? Yeah, I know a little something about that or whatever.
Okay,
So
okay,
now
okay.
I know it's on. Dude plays golf.
Right.
Hey man, let's go out and play some golf.
Right.
So we went out and played golf, and enjoyed our time together. So we started hanging out playing golf all the time. Well, Howard was plugged in with a lot of different people, man. So, and he's very, very aggressive
Okay.
person.
Right.
So he's trying to make some things happen for himself. Not only could he sing, but he could produce, he could arrange vocals and everything
Right.
like that. So somehow or another, he hooked up with Interscope,
Okay.
and they hired him to do a remix for one of Tupac's songs, a remix for I Get Around.
Okay.
So he had another friend, a guy named Chris Kello, who was a just ridiculous keyboard player.
Right.
Chris used to play with a group called The System. But anyway, so he brought Chris and me in to put together this remix for I Get Around. And we put together a version. We thought it was, was all right and everything. So he turned it in to this guy who was Tupac's A&R guy, Tom Wally at Interscope. And Tom was like kind of, he wasn't really feeling it.
Right.
So we said, that's all right. We'll go back in the lab and do it again. So he called up another friend of his, DJ Battlecat.
Okay. Gosh almighty.
Yeah. So Battlecat came in and was like, yeah, I know what it needs, man. So he got busy on his, his MPC and his SP1200 and everything, put some stuff together. And it's like, boom, okay, this they're going to like.
Right.
So we turned that in. They loved it. And they put it on, I think, like an MTV Party to Go compilation record or whatever. So that was the first.
That was the first one you mixed.
That was the first one that I was involved in.
Okay. Is this still real to real?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, this is all real to real.
Right. It's still it's Tupac. What am I talking about?
This is all
still
real to
real.
So again, let me try to make this point right here. I'm an engineer. That doesn't necessarily mean I am a fan.
Okay.
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 I'm going day to day, going to the studio on
Work.
my grind, trying to get this money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We got TV on, we got Yo MTV Raps or whatever.
Right.
The sound is always off.
Right.
So I'm seeing these guys, I'm seeing these acts or whatever.
Floating across the TV.
A lot of the records I know,
Right.
you know, what they even sounded like.
Right.
Like there was a Paula Abdul record, Cold Hearted Snake, where she did like a flash dance,
Right.
you know, thing. And the
Yeah.
video was cold blooded, man. I'd never heard the record.
Wow.
I'm sitting here watching the video for like 3 or 4 months. When I finally heard the record, I was like, that's it?
Wow.
You know, I thought the record was like,
Wow.
okay. But
Wow.
anyway, my point is, we're doing a record for Tupac. I mean, I kind of knew who Tupac was at that point.
Right.
I was like, you know, isn't he the actor guy?
Right.
You know, is he the guy they're always talking about getting in trouble or whatever?
Right.
You know, that's who he was to me.
Right, right.
He was another. This is today's project is Tupac.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Tomorrow's project is,
Right.
you know, for whatever. That's just kind of how it flowed.
Right.
So I didn't really realize again
Right.
what I was getting ready to be, you know,
A part of.
So we did that thing, and you know, it did what it did or whatever. I got a nice little platinum record out of it. Okay. Now, some time goes by. All right. I got another guy that I got a shout out, a guy named Larry Robinson. Larry has his own music publishing, Filmworks, international entertainment industry thing going on out there called Avatar.
Okay.
And Larry, again, showed up at LA Studios one day, and I was in there working on a project. He was just kind of falling through. And he saw me. He's like, who are you? What are you doing up in here, man?
Yeah.
You know, and again, I had the reels going on. I had my sampler going on. This is way before Pro Tools, but I'm flying stuff in off a sampler and moving stuff around. He's like, yo, what are you doing, man? Who are you? Where did you come from?
Right.
You know, because he's not used to seeing somebody who looks different
Right.
up there in that position in the studio. So, you know, we exchanged numbers.
Hold on. So for clarity, during this time, the mix engineers were predominantly white.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a few.
But it's
Barney Perkins was one. You know, but by and large,
right. It's not a lot of color.
right.
Which is well, I'll let you finish that. But that's crazy because one of the things that stood out, I don't know if you've seen the Defiant ones with Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre, but one of the things that stood out for him was the fact that Dre had actually mixed the entire Chronic album.
Right.
So, but hearing you say that now, I understand where it's kind of like,
Yeah.
you did that? Like,
it was unusual.
Okay.
It was unusual at the time.
Wow.
Still a little bit unusual.
Right, definitely.
I don't think there's any, aside from just what happens in society at large,
Right.
I don't think there was any effort to keep anybody out.
Right.
Because that business is a business of results. If you can get the results,
Right.
anybody's welcome. They don't care,
Right.
you know, who you are.
You just got to find your way in.
As long as you're professional,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Don't come there with a bunch of, you know, craziness or whatever.
Right.
And even that, they'll put up to a certain degree of that, as long as at the end of the day you give them a product that they can go out and make their millions off of.
Right.
You know
right.
what I'm saying? If you're broke and you ain't making nobody any money, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. If you the same person but people are getting rich off you, well, you're eccentric.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, George Clinton told me it's not cool to name drop, but I got that one from George Clinton.
Right. I'll show mine.
George Clinton said, "Hey, if I ever stop making money, man, please come cut this mess out of my hair." When he had the, you know, the
Right. See, if I ever stop making money, get rid of it.
Yeah, get rid of that, man. But anyway, so this guy Larry had signed a producer to his publishing company.
Okay.
A brother named Mosey MD. And Larry had a studio in his house. He had a Sony 24-track tape machine in one of his bedrooms. And we go up there and cut records. We did remixes for the most part, a lot of remixes for a lot of, you know, acts that were out there.
Right.
Because they, you know, R&B act would come out with the record, and then they want one that was like a dance version, and they want another one that was, you know, maybe a little more street or whatever. So that's what we did up there. So this writer and producer he had, Mosey MD, they were working on another record for Interscope, OG artist named Radio, RAYDIO. And so Larry called me up one day. He's like, Paul Arnold. He said, I ain't got no money, man. But there's some water in the pool. I got some ribs on the grill. You know, I pop up some popcorn. Can you come up here, man, and help this dude finish this record?
Okay.
So, him being a good friend of mine and whatnot, yeah, man, Larry, I got you, man. I'm coming up there. You got some girls coming by? Yeah, man, we get some girls in the pool, set off. You know how we do, man.
Yeah.
So we went up there and worked on this record for radio. And it was hitting, man.
Right.
It was hitting. So what happens is now, since Tupac is signed to Interscope, radio signed to Interscope. So they take the music up there to play for, radio's A&R guy. I think it was John McClain. And the way Interscope, the offices were set up, it was literally in an office building.
Right.
So you got, Tom Wally's office is right here, John McClain is right here, Jim Iovine is right there. So if you're in there in your office bumping some music, everybody in the whole spot hears it. So they're bumping radio stuff. And it so happens that Tupac's manager was in the building that day. And they're hearing this stuff we did for radio. They're like, who's that? Who put that? What's up with that? Oh, man, it's this Cat Mosey, boom, boom, boom. Can we hear some music from him?
Right.
Can we hear some other stuff?
Right.
So it was really because of Mosey's talent, and then my collaboration with Mosey.
Right.
Thanks to the hookup, my man Larry.
You're a humble guy. I gotta practice that.
That's how it is.
I'm with
man.
you. I'm with you. I'm with you.
So
I'm with you.
What they did is they gave us this record to remix. They
Okay.
said, we want to see. We got this group Thug Life. Now, I have no idea who Thug Life is at the time. We want you to do this remix of this what might be the single.
Okay.
So we go in the studio doing our thing. We do what we do, and the song is "Cradle to the Grave." Okay. They liked the remix that we did so much that wound up being the album version.
Right. Gosh
And
almighty.
now the original version, which was good too.
Right,
Don't
right,
get me
right.
wrong. The
Right,
original
right.
version was good.
I know.
But that became kind of
Yeah.
like a B-side or whatever. So meantime, Pac now is out in New York on that that trial, that sexual deviancy
Right, okay.
trial or whatever.
Right,
So
right.
he's kind of in New York. He's got to stay there.
Right.
But they sent him some of Mosey's music for him to write to. And he picked out a couple of joints. And next thing I know, man, I'm on a plane going out to New York.
Gosh almighty.
So, we're sitting there in Quad Studios, me and Mo, waiting on the man to arrive. Now, this is right in the midst of Tupac hysteria,
Yeah.
where, he's on trial in New York.
Right.
He done shot at the police.
Right.
Somebody got killed at one of his,
Yeah.
concerts allegedly.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. This woman saying, he raped her. So it's like, plus, his movies now have blown up.
Right. Right.
I Get Around was a big record.
Right.
What was the other one? Keep Your Head Up.
Right,
was a
right,
big
right,
record.
right.
So now I know who this guy is.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But I don't know what to believe.
Because all you hearing is stories, and you haven't physically met him yet.
Right. How's he gonna fall up in there? Should I be concerned about it? I say, dude, I grew up in South Bend, Indiana.
Gosh
You know
almighty.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My dad was a college professor at the University
Right.
of Notre Dame.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Is this guy, is he going to harm me?
Right,
Should I
right.
be concerned about, do I,
Yeah. Like.
man, this cat walks in, man, and the first thing he does is he says, Mosey. Had his, little thing on, whatever.
Yeah.
Mosey, man, comes, daps up Mo, man. They've known each other since they were 5 years old or whatever.
Right.
He's, man, what's your name, man? I'm like, I'm Paul, Paul, man, what's going on, man? Just, it's like immediately,
Right.
it's just love from this guy.
Right.
And he's got a couple of cats in tow. He's like, yeah, man, these are my boys. The record we're going to do today, they're going to be on. This is going to be like their first time being on the mic or whatever. So, you got to kind of work with us or whatever. So they went through the tape to find, the track that was that he liked, pull that up, got that, recorded it, put it on the reels, and now they start going in the booth, to do the vocals.
Right.
This cat is amazing, man.
Tupac.
Amazing, because at one moment we're just sitting there, chopping it up, watching TV, whatever, just,
Yeah.
nothing. Now it's time for him to go into the booth. Boom. I've never seen anybody flip the switch that fast
Just transform.
and get into character.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not saying that he was being phony
Right. Right.
in the booth or
Right.
outside of the booth.
Right.
But I'm saying when it came time to be Tupac, the star, I'm getting ready to go in here and bless this microphone.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Boom.
Yeah.
Go right down the thing. Boom. Done. Double it. Triple it. Okay. it's time for you to come to the booth and spit your thing.
Right.
So he brought the little dude in there, and now he's coaching him.
Right.
Do this, do that, whatever. All right, good. You're not ready yet, man. That you got to work some more on that first. Bring the other guy.
Gosh almighty.
So a couple hours later, we're done with this thing. Now we got to mix it.
Right.
So he's not interested in any of that. He
right.
takes off. So me and Mo are sitting there, getting the mix together on this thing. So the to finally get to the end of that story, the song was Outlaws, the last song.
I knew you were taking me. I knew I was getting. We were getting Outlaw. We were about to take a ride real quick. Wow.
Yeah. So that was the last. That was the last song on the album. First song I did with him face to face was that one. And of course the kids around there turned out being, at that time, they were going to be known as the Young Thugs.
Right.
And then they changed their name to Dramacidal.
Right.
And then later on in the lineage they became the Outlaws.
Right.
So that was my first, face-to-face encounter with him.
And that was the Outlaw record. But you had already did the I Get Around remix.
Yeah, but he didn't really know, me.
Right, he didn't know anything. Right.
Because that was, after the fact.
Right.
But apparently he liked working with me, and I guess he liked, what I did,
right.
My contribution to it. I know he liked, Mosey's music.
What that Outlaw record was on what album?
Me Against the World.
That was okay. So you ended up mixing that whole album, or just
most of it?
Most of it, okay.
Not all of it, but see, Pac had to stay in New York for a lot of the time because he had to go back and forth for the case or whatever. But he said, he told me, he's like, man, I want you to remix all my stuff. He said, and then he told, I call him Big Malky, but he told Malcolm, he said, man, don't let anybody else mess with my material except Paul.
Wow.
And I think what it was is, he and I never talked about it, but the sense of it that I got from him was that he knew I was going to take it seriously. I was there to work.
Right.
I wasn't there to smoke with him.
Right.
I wasn't there to drink with him.
Right.
I wasn't there to,
no,
do anything else but work.
Everything you're describing is who I know you to be. You know what I'm saying?
You feel me?
Yeah, definitely.
And I got nothing against the people there to do otherwise, because everybody who's there has got a reason to be there.
Right.
Everybody who's there deserves to be there.
Right, for sure.
One way or another. But I was there to get the music done.
Right.
And I think he saw that, and I think that's what the people at Interscope saw, that they could trust me to show up on time, to do whatever I was supposed to do. If they needed to send me into the vault to dig up a tape or whatever, I was going to find the tape.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think that was kind of like my
consummate professional.
Yeah,
there you go.
I was serious about what I was doing,
right?
Because my name was on it too,
right? Definitely.
And to be honest with you, it's not even really coming from a place always of humility. It's coming from a place, to be real honest with you, probably out of insecurity. Because you're in here, you're doing these records, but you could be here today and gone later today.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? In the blink of an eye.
Not even tomorrow.
Right.
Later today.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure I was always on top of my game, because I didn't want to slip up. I don't want to be the guy who, rewound the tape too far and got thrown down the stairs. Or,
Gosh almighty.
You know what I'm saying? You know where I'm coming from. So that's my thing. So I started working on some more of the Me Against the World album. And in the meantime, the Thug Life album was being put together. Man, this gets long, bro.
No, listen.
This gets long. What was going on then was there was this whole hysteria going on about Tupac, and Tupac had become like the poster child for everything that was wrong with music and society as a whole at that time. And that now you got congressmen, the vice president, everybody talking about gangsta rap. They're holding, congressional committees are getting together, talking about what are we going to do about gangsta rap. Okay, so you got Interscope Records. This is a subsidiary of Time Warner.
Right.
Okay, and that's a big, huge media conglomerate. But now they got this wild kid who's out here, shooting at the police and on CNN all the time.
And he's sponsored by them. They cutting the check.
Right. But the flip side of that is he's generating millions.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what do you do? So they were trying to get to a place where they could still put out his music, but they wanted it to. All right. So we're getting Thug Life stuff together. They wanted him to go in and start doing a lot of radio versions.
Right.
Radio versions meaning not just, muting out the the bad words, the naughty words.
But changing the songs pretty much to where they're just friendly.
Yeah. So, instead of I ain't got time for bitches, I ain't got time for snitches.
Right.
Same concept or whatever. And if you kind of know, you kind of already know what they wanted to say.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I was re-recording a lot of those things and then mixing those down for them. And as a matter of fact, when it came to Pac, they sent me out one time on a mission in New York where they, the people at Interscope told me, now, don't let them record any songs that have any references to guns or anything like that. They can't talk about guns. They can't talk about...
They put this on you.
They put this on me.
Gosh almighty.
So I want you to picture me rolling up in the studio.
Listen.
And the air's thick and everything. And, here I bounce up in there and I'm like, oh, no, you can't say that. They'd be like, really?
Yeah.
So it didn't really go down like that.
Right.
I messaged them. I said, hey, man, look.
This what they saying?
This is what they saying. Whatever. So,
right.
They tried to clean it up a little bit, but it was what it was. So, that was kind of like, what the experience was like. So we wound up doing the majority of Me Against the World. And by this time, Pocket got sent away.
Right.
So, he was calling in, check in with us. And we had started working on the Dramacidal, the Outlaws, their album. Now, they had an amazing album. They never, really got to hear. Now, there's been some stuff that's leaked out and everything, but that album right there would have been a classic too. So Pac's calling in. We're trying to figure out ways that he can rhyme over the phone and we can get it on the thing.
Right.
Technology wasn't where it is right now, so we could never get that happening. But so that's kind of Then when Suge came and got him out. Y'all seen the movie. Or some of y'all seen the movie. Some of y'all didn't see the movie.
Right.
Because but some of y'all saw the movie.
Right.
So some of y'all know the story anyway.
Right.
So Suge came, got him out, whatever. I was like, I'm good.
Oh, you. That's when you actually was like, nah.
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Nothing against.
Right. But you ain't.
But I'd heard, the story.
Right.
I had some other stuff I had to do.
Right.
I just didn't really feel like that was a good.
Right.
Good, comfortable, match. Now I know the guys that went in there. They were some soldiers.
Right.
Went in there and got those records done.
And you used to get those phone calls, didn't you?
I'm gonna tell you the truth. I think at the heart of at the end of the day, man, in Pac's heart, he knew that wasn't the right place for me. A couple of us that worked with him on that album,
right.
I think he knew that wasn't something that he wanted us to be involved in, man.
Right.
So I never really even got the call from him.
Right.
And
No, I meant you got the call. You were getting the calls from engineers like, yo, this is crazy over here.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but the profound thing to me was that this cat is sitting up.
That's my only one. Is she gone?
Keep going.
Right. This man's sitting up, confined. Okay.
Right.
Meantime, he's got the #1 record in the country.
Gosh almighty.
He's got a platinum single. Okay. And a platinum album that was just dropped, getting ready to go double platinum. And he's sitting there confined. I don't think that had ever been done prior to that.
No, it probably hasn't been done since.
It might have been done since then.
That's double platinum for sure.
Yeah. So, that kind of struck me. So,
Me Against the World is, listen, everybody talks about All Eyes on Me.
Right.
Everybody talks about Machiavelli. For me, at that age, Me Against the World was my first Tupac album that I really, Dear Mama, How Long Will They Mourn Me,
So Many Tears.
So Many Tears. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, Me Against, that whole album was like, listen, I had a phase when I was young where, like, you know what I'm saying, I'd be like 14. I would go to the mall with no money and go into the record store. And, back then it was cassettes.
Right.
And, they had the tape, and then they had a long little plastic, like.
So you can steal it.
And I would pop them bitches off. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would pop them bitches all the way off, and I'm out. Like, I probably ended it. But that's how I got Me Against the World.
Right.
And I used to just have that shit just like, yo, this fucking Tupac shit. It's crazy because his passion, his energy, and it just like he ran over the records, and it's like, you know, people say he's not a lyricist, and I never really get into that because I don't. Nas said something one day, was like, yo, what is lyricist? Mm-hmm. What is a lyricist? Like, we're talking about words on paper with meaning.
Right.
Like, what better can it be than that? You know what I'm saying? So, Tupac was so far ahead of his time. Like that Me Against the World album, when I walked in your studio and I saw that plaque up on the wall, I'm like, what are you doing with this?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're like, well, I'm telling you, I was like, yo, this is like, it's you just feel like it's different spirits and everything. Like, listen, do you remember the first time I was in that booth? It might have been the second time. And I was in there and I put that jumpsuit on.
Yeah.
Like, listen, I did a photo shoot in the booth with the 811 jail jumper on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was really trying to like channel the Tupac energies. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was crazy. Like, yeah, it was funny. Like, yeah, but
yeah, man.
I remember your album. You had
I had the jumpsuit on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's crazy because, like you say. And I know you're not. I know the energy of that music was pretty extreme in comparison to a lot of stuff you had did. Mm-hmm. But you also did a record that kind of was like tried to circumvent and counter all of that type of energy. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
And I believe it was a West Coast All Stars record. Mm-hmm. We All in the Same Gang.
Yes, sir.
It's a classic record. It was like the self-destruction of the West Coast. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I was actually telling my dad about it last night. And, you know, everybody knows self-destruction. Mm-hmm. But some people might not necessarily think they remember We're All in the Same Gang until you really start running it. They're like, oh, I do remember. Because it was a big record. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How did you become a part of that one?
Oh, man. That's good. All right, we got to go back. Right. Because I got to give you the lineage. When I was out there doing that New Edition tour, I was playing drums with them. All right. The guy who was our road manager was a brother named Eban Kelly.
Okay.
Eban. And Eban and his party, he had a partner named Jimmy Randolph. And Jimmy was the sound man, and Eban was, handling the business.
Right.
Well, they had a production company together, and they did some pretty significant records. They did. They got 2 Grammys for Al Green records. They did.
Gosh,
they did Everything's Gonna Be All Right and Soul Survivor. They also did some stuff on New Kids on the Block. They did a record called Are You Single by Aura.
Okay.
So they were both well versed.
Right.
They had some stripes.
Right.
In the industry. So I think I started. Cutting some records with Eban, and he and I became friends, and I really looked up to him as a mentor because he had been in the business for a long time. So I bumped into him again out in L.A., and we started working together again out there. And I think it was about a year or 2 after I'd been out there. Some other guys I was working with knew a guy named Mike Conception.
Mike Conception. Okay.
Mike Conception was OG.
Right.
Okay. But he was trying to get into some things, and he was trying to get into the music business. Okay. And I knew Eban, and we knew this guy over at Warner Brothers named Leonard Richardson, who was an A&R guy over there. And they all got together, whatever, and started brainstorming. Eban was probably one with the biggest brain and the biggest storm going on in his brain. But Eban was real good for like hooking things up, putting people together, making deals happen.
Okay.
So here you had Mike, who was OG, okay, but had the respect of the whole community. And you had to understand how thick the community was out in LA, especially at that time. Okay, because these were guys that, whether it was justified or not, put the fear of God, that whole fire and fury thing that Trump is talking about.
Right.
All right, that's what people thought about when they thought about gangsters.
Okay.
In L.A.
Right.
It's like nobody wanted to mess with nobody.
Right.
So he had a lot of respect because he was OG. A lot of people misunderstood him. Again, they were afraid of him.
Right.
I knew him. He was a sweetheart of a guy.
Right.
To me.
Right.
I mean, just totally beautiful guy to me.
Right.
Funny, laughter all the time.
Right.
But apparently there was another side of him that you didn't want to get to, whatever.
Okay.
He rolled around in a wheelchair.
Oh, a lot of the real gangsters.
Yeah.
Be in wheelchairs.
So he wanted to get into the business.
Right.
He had a certain amount of respect in the community and a certain amount of clout. Okay. And here you got this guy over Warner Brothers, A&R guy, who's trying to make his mark over there. And E-Band put this thing together. He said, look, what we need to do, because again, perfect storm, West Coast hip hop is blowing up at this time now.
Right.
You got MC Hammer, who's just,
he's out of here.
you can't even understand the thing he was on. But then you also had Easy, was doing this thing. You had guys like Young MC, it was kind of pop rap.
Right.
JJ Fad, Def Jeff.
Right.
So they said, we're going to get all these guys together and we're going to do a record to do some, address this gang violence situation.
Right.
Okay. So now you got like the Arsenio Hall shows going on, and it's at its peak right then.
Right.
So they said, okay, we're going to do this thing called Peace Weekend, where we're going to bring the the red and blue together right there on stage, and we're going to try to have a whole weekend of no gang violence and all this kind of thing. So that's how that record kind of came together. It was out of that,
out of that weekend,
out of that thing. Well, the record came first. Then they decided, a plan to put the weekend together.
Right.
But it was really the brainstorm of E-Band and Mike, put this thing together. So there's a
the artists you just named. Those are all artists that are actually on the record.
They're on the record.
Right.
And again, because Mike being who he was, he can make a call like, hey, yo, Grunge, man, I need you to come down and get on this record. Yes, sir.
Right.
Where do you want me to be? I'll be there.
Right.
But it was a good record.
Right.
It was the first record that, I hate using superlatives like that because I don't know if it was like the first and one and only, but it was one of the first records that Dr. Dre produced outside of the NWA experience. I mean, I understand,
so Dre did that record.
Yeah, he was doing his thing, production before he got into NWA, but coming out of NWA, that was one of the first records that he produced.
Okay, that's dope. Oh man.
And it was based around like a loop from a James Brown record.
Right.
But
so you actually you actually were able to mix a record that Dr. Dre produced?
Not exactly.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you my role in the thing. My role in the thing was kind of helping everything get set up when the whole idea was being birthed.
Okay.
Dre took the guys in the studio, and cut the record.
Okay.
But here's where I came in. For this Peace Weekend thing, the record's like, because you got so many rappers on there, the record's like 8 or 9 minutes long.
Okay.
Because everybody wants 16 bars and they got to get their story in there or whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got Miss Chalet in there, singing the little hook or whatever.
Yeah.
It was like an 8-minute long record.
Okay.
All right, cool. Now they want to do this Peace Weekend thing on the Arsenio Hall show.
Okay.
They're not going to do a 9-minute record on there. They got like a 4.5-minute block.
Right.
All right. So somebody had to go in there that they could trust and cut this record down to get it to 4.5 minutes so they could do it on TV.
So hold on. So you cut the record to where, and it fit.
It fit.
To where it didn't seem like, why his verse just stopped like that.
Right.
Or,
Right. Wow. And the thing about it was, we're not talking about Pro Tools. We're still talking about reels and tape.
Right.
So when I say that I had to cut parts out of it, that's literally what happens. You got a reel of tape.
Right.
And you got a little China marker crayon thing, and boom.
Right.
Boom.
Right.
Now you pull the tape out of the machine, put it down the splicing block, cut that out, hang that up there on the door.
Yeah.
Put that together. How's it sound? Okay, yeah, that kind of flows or whatever. It took me a couple of days to do it, but I finally got the record down.
Right.
Where everybody at least got to have, some bars in there.
Right.
And had it flow and kind of make sense. All right. Now's the day of the show. Okay. These guys are all coming in for rehearsal. And, nobody's
heard this.
Nobody's heard it.
Okay.
Okay. So you imagine, you're a rapper.
Yeah. Do they even know that it took place?
Not the whole lot didn't know. A lot of them were probably told,
right?
But it didn't register. Like, this is what's getting ready to go down.
Right.
So I was strategic, man. I was like, okay, Easy's verse, I'm just gonna leave that joint intact.
Right.
I'm not gonna.
Right.
But some of the other verses, so here I am trying to like get Tone Loc's attention.
Right.
Like, hey, bro, I got to play this for you so you're going to know how this thing goes. Because they did it live. It wasn't a track thing.
Right.
They did the joint live.
Right.
The mics are live.
Right.
So I'm trying to communicate with these guys, you know, in
This is in rehearsal though.
yeah, this is in rehearsal.
all right.
But it's only, you know, again, man, cats weren't there to rehearse. They were there to have a good time. And
Right,
see
right,
each
right,
other.
right,
And,
right,
you know, some
right.
guys were beefing. And,
Right.
You know, whatever.
Right.
And I'm sitting here, me,
Right.
little kid from South Bend, Indiana.
Right.
I'm trying to teach these rappers
Right.
their verses.
Right.
Dude, it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So, it's one of my favorite stories. I was going to save this one for the book,
Gosh almighty.
but I'm going to go ahead and give it to you, man.
Because you got a book. I mean, you.
Because this is funny, man. This
Like,
is funny. This is funny. So, we finally got through the rehearsal. I'm reasonably confident that the thing is at least going to come off some kind of way.
Right.
All right. So, again, Arsenio Hall show at that time was just like, that was the show.
Right.
That was the one everybody talked about, everybody watched. So, now I'm kind of feeling a little bit like, oh, man, I'm sitting up here in the Arsenio Hall show. You
Right.
know, I was getting ready to go sit up on the couch. So
Right.
I was like, no, bro, you can't do that.
Right.
You know, whatever. So I'm sitting out in the audience, you know, in the audience area,
Right.
you know, just chilling or whatever. And, you know, stuff's going on. They're setting the lights and everything. And they're like, they bring in this guy, okay, I need you to stand right here. And they're focusing the lights. I learned that's called a stand-in. You know, Arsenio Hall doesn't show up to have the lights focused. They bring in
Right.
Arsenio stand-in. So Arsenio
Right.
stand-in is over there. They're getting the lights ready. Boom. And then they say, can you come up here for a minute? I'm like, yeah, I figure they need another stand-in.
Right.
So I stand up there. They're like, yeah, like that. Okay, and you, can you guys all come up here and just stand over there? So we're all just standing over there. They're moving the lights around. We're like, yeah, I like it. They're like, all right, for the show, you guys are going to be up here on stage because we want to fill up this side of the stage. I'm like, what?
Oh man.
Dude, I had on my golf attire.
Yo, I'm with you. I'm with
I had
you.
on my golf attire,
Right,
man.
right.
You know, not that I had my cross colors. And all
Right,
that
right,
anyway,
right.
I had my golf. I got on white slacks, bro.
Gosh almighty.
And they want me to be up here with the West Coast Rap All Stars
Oh
on
man.
Peace Weekend, where they're gonna bring the Bloods and the Crips together.
Oh man.
We're talking a fish out of water right here.
Yeah.
I'm definitely out of my place.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So worse than that, let's go back to the record now.
Right.
Who's the only person in the building that really knows how that record goes at that point?
You.
Me. Okay, so they parked me up there on the stage. They got some mics hung down. I'm right under one of the mics, apparently, that was like real live. And I'm in front with my white golf slacks on, trying to find some rhythm.
Right. Right.
You know, they come out,
Yeah.
man. They all do, Tone Loc's coming out there cool as he could be.
Yeah.
Easy comes out there doing his thing. And here I am on national TV on the Arsenio Hall show with my golf slacks on.
Oh man.
And you can hear my voice.
You can hear you because you know the records.
Because I know the record.
Wow.
Dude, I was so humiliated. So Mike rolls up and he says, man, you was dancing your ass off up there. What you mad, man? I was
Gosh
I
almighty.
ain't never going to live this one down.
Oh, man.
Okay, remember the lady who came around with the clipboard?
Right.
Took down my information?
Right.
Oh, best believe. A couple weeks later, go to my mailbox, open it up. I'm like, what's...
It's a check.
Booyah.
Gosh almighty. For using you.
I was like, oh, I got paid for just doing that. I was like, can I do that again? Guess what? They repeated it, 13 weeks later or whatever. Guess what?
Got another check.
Got another check. They showed it over in London. Guess what?
Got another check.
Got another check. So what did I learn? I learned a very, very valuable lesson then that I should have learned a long time ago.
Right.
That was, if you're going to be in this business, get on the residual income side of this business. Okay? If I could leave everybody with anything, it would be that. That is still a business that generates millions of dollars. But you got to be on that
Other side of it.
the residual side. I was on the linear side. If I went in there and did a Tupac record today, I'm unemployed tomorrow.
Right.
Until somebody calls me up and says,
do another record.
yeah, do another record.
Right.
Okay. So Tupac sold what? 55 million records?
Yeah. Something like that.
I'd like to have a penny for each one that I did.
Yeah.
I didn't. I got paid well. I got compensated well according to what engineers got paid at that time.
Right.
I probably got paid even a little better than most engineers that were
Right.
doing, those records got at that time.
Right.
But then that was it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
So-
here we are 20 years later, and the music I recorded is in a movie generating millions and millions of dollars, and I'm sitting there eating popcorn that costs, like what, $12 a box or whatever, saying, man, people still getting paid off that work.
Yeah.
So you got to get on the residual side.
Do even today engineers still don't really,
not really.
So they don't, because I know like with producers, a lot of producers end up in that same position, or they can work points, but they don't offer that mix. Because I was told you get what you negotiate, not what you're worth.
Right.
So, but when nobody's negotiating, like is that something that mix engineers just tend to?
The real truth of the matter is this: what you negotiate. Okay, how'd you just put it?
You get what you negotiate, not what you're worth.
Okay. Here's what you think you're worth. Here's what you think you're going to get based upon your negotiations.
Right.
And then here's what you actually get at the end of the day.
Gosh almighty.
Those are three distinctly
different things.
Right. Because even though I was talking about that residual end of the business,
right,
it exists, but it doesn't exist. It's kind of like a mirage.
Smoke and mirrors.
It really is.
Because they can...
Because
you don't have any... How do you really actually... Who tracks it for you?
Exactly. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you don't get it. Or you don't get what you're supposed to get.
Right.
You might get a little something.
Right.
Especially if they figure out they're going to need you again. So I would always tell people, get your money up front.
Right.
And truth be told, for the majority of the major label acts I work with,
right,
just based on recording. I'm
right.
not talking about merchandising, tours, concerts, things like that. But I probably made, even on the linear side as an engineer, I probably made more money as an engineer than the artists that I worked with. Because everything that they do is taken out of their residual.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So what you want to do, whether you're a producer, an artist, whatever, you get as much of that money as you can up front, because at the end of the day, on the back end, there's probably not going to be any back end.
Right.
So what I'm saying is there's probably a handful of guys that, like man Serban, who's right, based right here out of Virginia Beach.
Right.
Serban is the man. When it comes to mix engineers, nobody can touch Serban. Okay. Serban could probably go in there and say, I want, this amount of money up front. They write that check as fast as they can, if they even still write checks anymore, PayPal or whatever. But he can say, I want a point off the record or 3 points off the record. They'll say, you can have it.
Right.
Whether, again, at the end of the day, does he get it? I don't know. But it's difficult. To collect those things. But it would still be nice to think that, at the end of the day, you're going to see something.
Right.
I'd just take a penny.
That's crazy.
If I could have you put the Tupac, the Fireside stuff together, and the Christina Aguilera
see, I was just about to say, listen, you work with a lot of ugly masculine people, right?
Right.
But you also had a chance to work with, pretty nice looking young lady.
She's all right looking.
She do okay. She's pretty. She has a phenomenal voice, a lot of power.
You're talking about Beyonce, right?
We'll get to that part of the story later. Christina Aguilera. That was another plaque that I saw when I walked in there, and I'm like, yeah, what the fuck? Like, yo, like Genie in a bottle. Talk to me, man.
All right. Sometimes you can get on just by, again, being in the right place at the right time.
Right.
And a lot of times, the perception is greater than the reality. Okay. Here's the exact thing that went on with Genie in a Bottle. There's a producer named David Frank.
Okay.
Who was also part of a group called The System. That keyboard player, hour ago I was talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, now David is and was at the time somebody that, again, that I kind of idolized.
Right.
Not saying in some weird spiritual sense.
Right.
But this was a bad cat.
Right.
Now, what he did, David was there in the forefront of like this shift in music into like a technology-based thing. That was kind of like the moniker, The System. He had this system that Oberheim Electronics put together.
Right.
Drum machine, sequencer, polyphonic keyboard.
Okay.
And he was just nasty on it. And what he did, I later came to find out, is he got the equipment and then he just hunkered down in his crib for like a month until he knew everything that it could do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But he had just a brilliant sense of musicality about him. He was classically trained, then went to New England Conservatory, and I think got into some jazz stuff or whatever.
Okay.
But his music was funky, man.
Right.
That's a bad boy. And that Moog bass synthesizer,
Right.
nasty.
Right.
So, the old song, You're in My System, Don't Disturb This Groove,
Right.
Sussudio by Phil Collins.
Okay.
Think whatever you want to about the music. But that was a big hit record.
Mm.
You listen to the background of that thing, there's this dude chucking away in this mini Moog bass. It's killing it.
Right.
That's David Frank.
Okay.
Okay. So one day I was working in a studio, and in walks David Frank. He was there to, he had some tracks that a writer that I was working with, they were going to collaborate on. So we do our thing or whatever. And again, I'm trying to be professional.
Right.
I'm not trying to be a big fanboy or anything.
Right.
But I'm doing what I do. So again, he respected, the way I carried myself, and I guess he liked what was coming out of the speaker. So he said, "Hey man, I've got my studio in my house. I live up the way. But I need somebody to come up there and cut some records for me every now and then." I was like, "Yeah, man."
Yeah.
So I started going up there to his house and working on these songs. All right. So we were working on. They hired him to put some acoustic piano parts on a 98 Degrees record.
Right.
The Hardest Thing, which was a big record for 98 Degrees. And he was, I think, also the co-writer on that. Okay. So we're up there doing that thing. All right, finish up the session. He's like, "Hey, man, you doing anything next Thursday?" "I don't think so, man. What you got?" He said, "Ron Fair over at A&M signed this new girl, and Steve Kipner and I, got this song he wants us to cut." I said, "Oh, yeah, cool, man. Who is she?" "I don't know, Crystal or Christy or something."
Right.
I'm like, "Whatever, man. What time you want me to come up here?" So
Right.
Came up there. So get up there. And Dave had, again, all his stuff was MIDI. It was in, his computer and these keyboards and things like that. So we got to get it from there over onto some reels, so that they can, cut the vocals and then take it down and get it mixed and mastered.
Right.
So my job is this transfer from Dave's, MIDI equipment onto the reels. Okay. So we did that. Took about, 8, 9, 10 hours to get all that done and everything. And now it's time to put some vocals on. So I was like, "You need me to stay around, for the vocal session?" He's like, "Yeah, she's kind of shy, so we're just going to go ahead and cut the vocals,
Okay.
Like, cool.
Right.
Because, again, brand new singer.
Right.
I've been up there 10 hours.
Right.
They pay me, some
Right.
good money an hour. I got my check. Now
Right.
my rent's covered for the month. I'm good.
Right.
Let me know if you need me to come back.
Right.
All good. So that's really what I did. I just, recorded
Okay.
these music tracks. And then they did the vocals with her.
Okay.
Now, who in their wildest mind think I'm sitting up here in somebody's garage studio thinking this record is going to turn into, Genie in a Bottle?
That's crazy.
But I should know, because this dude's a genius.
Right.
I know Ron Fair,
Right.
the guy that signed her, he's a genius.
Right.
And I know the other guy who was a co-writer of the song. But
Okay.
I didn't know anything about her at all
Right.
at that time.
So this is the beginning. This is her beginning.
It's her first record.
Oh wow.
It's her first record.
That's crazy.
So again, I tell this story a lot to people because it's important. This again is the power of residual income. Because next thing I know, the record's blowing up. And
Right.
I think at this point it's sold like 10 million copies worldwide. I made $600. Now, I was happy that day to go home with $600. Who would be mad about having a $600?
Right. Nobody. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For just transferring some music and hanging out with a guy
Right,
that I
right,
like and
right,
respect anyway.
right.
It's a good day, man. But that Joker sold 10 million copies. I'm not salty. I'm not mad at anybody.
Right.
That was the arrangement. It was good.
Right.
Matter of fact, the money that I got paid that day, he probably overpaid me.
Right.
Because he
Right.
we had a good relationship
Right,
and everything.
right.
I was happy. This is no knock on
Right.
him or anybody
You
else
just
personally.
explain. It's just the
I'm
reality
just
of the
saying,
business.
you just never know, man. That joint. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I got a plaque.
Right.
You know what
How
I'm
many
saying?
plaques you got, Paul?
I don't know, man.
Man,
I don't know. I don't have that many. I got a few.
Gosh,
I got a few, but man, look seriously.
Yeah.
they're guys.
No, definitely, but I mean, it's still like that. Plaques. Plaques don't really tell the whole story,
Right.
but they're what we look to. But like, because you're a guy. You can you can be Google, right?
You can Google something.
You can Google Mr. Arnold and get the little list.
I think there's like a DJ over in England now who's got my name, and his results are higher than mine.
But listen, you don't have like one of them 10-inch scroll bars. Like your scroll bars, you got to scroll.
You got a little something on there.
Got a little something on that thing, man. Listen. Paul, we could do this thing for so long, man, because there's so much I know we haven't touched. There's just so much that you've done and accomplished. Like I say, being young, like, I was like 25, 26 years old at the time, like, and it feels like when I'm thinking about it, it was ages ago,
right?
But it feels like it was yesterday. Like you still look exact. I know I've changed. I know I've aged my beard. I hide some of the grays.
You lost a little weight, bro.
I lost a little weight. I was definitely.
I think I found it for you.
Yeah, I still got something. I ain't lost all that yet. I'm picking it back up. Doctor tell me my cholesterol like a 90-year-old man and all that crazy stuff. So I'm working on all that, trying to get myself back together. But being in there like with you, man, it was really like one of those moments, man, like where it helped me grow. We actually were going to talk about that because I had some complaints about that 444 album. Did you ever get a chance to listen to it?
I did.
Was I bugging?
Oh, break it down. What
okay, so when I listened to it, my first take on it was like I felt like sonically, the drums were like they weren't really there. There was no presence. There was no drop on a lot of records, and it felt like vocals were like, I'm used to a real mean tuck. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't feel the tuck. Like I felt just like it felt like a rough recording. Like it was clean. Everything was clean, but it just felt like the recordings feel when you just want to hear what it sounds like so that you can get it right. And then I remember talking to you like this was maybe 2 days after the album came out. And I remember I thought that Young Guru had mixed out like this had to be that. Because I know he's more of a tracking engineer or whatever. But you told me that Jimmy Douglas did it. So while we were talking, I'm like, okay, he's certified. Like and you even told me like if it sounds like that, I promise you it was intentional.
Absolutely.
So when you listen to it, what was your take?
My take on it, first and foremost, is I think it's a masterpiece.
It's definitely a masterpiece.
I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's the kind of record that you get to make when you're calling your own shots.
Right.
Okay? So that it speaks to me about the power and authority that this man has in the industry, that he could put out a record like that.
Right.
Because if he were signed to a label and had to be responsible and answer somebody else's label,
right. Would have never came out like that.
Would never came out like that. For the reasons probably like that you went into.
So I'm not tripping about sonics of how I heard it. It was definitely.
I can't say anything sounds bad about it.
No, not bad, right. But just not as quality as you would expect.
It's quality, but it's different.
It's different.
It's different.
It's like, it's like popping in 93.
Here's what it sounds like to me. And I can't really think of good words to use, so I'm just going to try to be basic about it. It does not sound to me like music. It sounds to me like this dude has some stuff on his mind that he really needed to get out. Okay? Almost like spoken word over some sound in the background. Okay? I'll put the record back on and listen to it because I'm interested in what he was saying.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
The interplay of the samples and all that kind of stuff is like interesting to me.
Right.
And I respect cats who put records together that way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I would not put that record on to listen to it because like I'm getting ready to drive somewhere.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not it's not brush your shoulders off. It's not like 99 Problems.
Right. It's
now you have to understand. You got to remember now. I'm not coming from a fan perspective.
Right.
On many things. So I know the big records.
Right.
I don't know like the secret underground stuff that
Right.
Like you
right.
the real fans don't.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But I know like 99 Problems came on. That thing was banging.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know Brush Your Shoulders came on. That even somebody like me, I could feel the bounce in there or whatever. Name any of his big hits. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There was a groove to it. There was a pocket that I was into.
Right.
This record is more of a thing where you just kind of sit down, put your joint on, do whatever you do to get in the mood to experience it. and experience it, and
Right.
sit there and think about, man, this cat's really, talking about some serious subjects.
Right.
So maybe, like if the music was different, if the production was different, if it was mixed differently or whatever, maybe that would distract you from, where he was trying to go with it. I don't know.
It's possible.
But I know that
that's been everybody's point, and I think he said it a different way. Like, when you think of it from spoken word, with like a little jazz in the background.
Yeah.
Like
I see, because but me being like the fan of like introspect, I enjoy introspect combined with great music. You know what I'm saying? Right. So for me, I'm like, I wanted both, and I'm used to him giving me both in general. Right. So I do understand that concept of everybody might, like, some people might get drowned out by music. Right. But for me, I was just like, man, I wish he'd have just made that thing. But I think the perspective you gave is a great perspective. I took up a lot of your time. I definitely appreciate it. I'm gonna get on this. We're gonna get this one out because this is gonna be a classic. A lot of people gonna learn a lot.
Jones gonna be long, man.
No, this isn't really that long. Like,
okay,
it's
good.
154. I've done 240 on guys with way less of a catalog. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
do a part two.
Hey.
Like you've done so much, man, and you're still at it, man. So I appreciate the time, man. OpinionHated podcast, man. Paul Arnold, Grunge Gallardo, Ray Perks, Rose Gold brand in the building.
And let people know I'm still doing this.
He's still doing it, man.
You can come through. I'm affordable. I'm not the cheapest guy in town. I know you can do your little thing in your bedroom or whatever.
What's your social media?
What's your social media stuff?
Man, I'm old, dude. Man, I'm on Facebook.
Listen, if you want to work with Paul Arnold, man, reach out to me, man, and I'll get you to him, because Paul is definitely.
I even break you off a little something.
Listen, I don't want anything, man. Paul is the best engineer I've ever worked with, and I've worked with a couple people. None of them are Paul Arnold, man. I still got music that nobody's ever heard that sounds so amazing from Paul Arnold, man. So, I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for taking the time, man.
No, I wouldn't have had it any other way.